Hello and welcome to ACS Golf and this week's equipment review. Today, as you've seen already in the tagline, we are reviewing the Tour Edge Exotics X220 3-wood. Now, before I get into why I've done this, if you're new to the channel, I release basically a review of a club every week on a Sunday UK time. These could be brand new clubs or older clubs from the second-hand market, picked up in shops because they're absolute steal. Basically review them to see if they're any good and see if they'll go in my bag. And also you'll be the odd thrown one in there that's sort of old school and I think it's quite cool and I just always wanted to try. So to stop yourself from missing them, remember to hit the subscription button. I mean, in the coming weeks, we've got things like this. Look at this, Night Vapor Pro, 2014, I think, 2015, a Mizuno MP20 MMC irons. Okay, so don't forget to hit that subscription button. If you've already watched this channel and you're already subscribed, welcome back and good to see you. Now, going into this, as always, we will talk about the club, all the details and technology in it. Then we'll get down the driving range, get some figures for you, and then afterwards I'll tell you basically why, if this club is any good and if it's going to go in my bag and if I think you guys should be looking out for it in the second-hand market, because this is from 2020. So the reason why I picked this up, so basically if you've watched my channel before, I've always been a little bit sort of issues with my top end of my clubs, which is my sort of 3-wood. Now, I currently been having this in the bag. Look at this, old school Tour Exotic. I think it's a CB Pro 16.5 limited edition. And basically, this club is an absolute rocket ship. But a TSI 2, which I also had, and I had, done a review on that, had more forgiveness. Even though the TSI 2 isn't the most forgiving version, TSI 1 is. If you're ever looking at Titleist fairway woods or drivers, which are very good, just remember the 1. So TS1, TSI1, TSR1 are the more forgiving, and then obviously the scale goes up to 3 or 4, which are the less forgiving. So do remember that when looking out for them on the second-hand market or brand new. And basically the idea was I wanted the distance of that club, but also more forgiveness, because off-centered hits I did suffer. Now, and being a mid-handicapper of, 16 at the moment, I do have those missed hits, which is another reason why it's always good for reviews for me, because unlike the pros who hit everything out the middle, I can really tell you if the damn thing's forgiving because I do miss the middle, like a lot of us do quite a bit. So that's the reason why I've gone for this. Now, before I delve into the details about it and all the tech off Tour Edge's website, which is always fantastic reading, let's have a closer look at the club. So there you go. I think a great looking club, to be honest. I really like the looks of it. Now, let's get into what Tour Edge is saying about this club, which I have. First thing, the David Gold, the designer, says, talk about a wow factor. Just a couple of swings with the X220 will prove why we're an industrial leader in fairway metals. And to be honest, if you've never tried Tour Edge, they really are great when it comes down to fairway woods. Now, let's go into the details. Now, Diamond Face technology here. So it produces a hotter face with faster ball speed, reduction of spin, and better performance on off-centered hits. Sounds absolutely perfect, doesn't it? We now have a max MOI design. Here you go, even says it there. Provides extreme forgiveness off the face and increased accuracy from the adjustable 9-gram back weight. So this, technically, you can get other weights for it. Personally, when you buy these things on the second-hand market, you tend to get what you get given, really, don't you? here we go, more tech for you. So a dual carbon tech. So featured in the heel and the toe of the sole to help create extreme weight savings. So basically by doing that, they can move that weight. By saving the weight here, they can move the weight to the back of the club and therefore increase MOI and increase that forgiveness. And then we have this, the slipstream sole. There you go, which is always a bit of a weird feature, which I've stopped doing now actually. I haven't seen any recent ones with this. Features improved wider speed channels that create a faster clubhead speed due to smoother turf interaction. And I'm not going to lie, got it on the back bottom of this one even bigger. And I feel really, for me anyway, that really does help get through the turf, especially if you tend to be fatting it. So there you go. So there's all the technology that is in this bad boy. Oh, sorry, no, there's more. My apologies, I forgot about this, which is not really related to the actual performance of the club, but hey. So inside here, they have a sound diffusion bar used to improve the acoustics engineering by enhancing the richness of sound upon impact. So there you go. Great. We all like, if some things sound horrendous, we will struggle with them personally. But if you're not that picky, it's not exactly a major feature, really, is it, to be honest? But hey ho. And then one thing I will say about these clubs is the shafts they came in. They came in some really good stock shafts here. We got the Ventus here, and then they had Airspeed as well, Airspeeder, which is a great shaft, and the Hazardous Smoke one as well. So some great shaft options as well in here, which is a plus, to be honest. Now, let's get down to the range, and afterwards I'll discuss the performance in more detail, discuss the price point, and possibly what other things you can pick up the time, say if it's going to go in my bag, and if you guys should look out for it, or maybe there's better options. So yeah, let's get down to
So here we are down at the range. Let's jump straight into those figures. So on average, flat carry was 184 yards. Total distance was 227 yards. Ball speed was 137 miles per hour. Launch angle 8 degrees. Height 40. Now, my longest was actually flat carry of 210, total distance 253 yards, and ball speed 143 miles per hour. Launch angle 7 and height 41 feet. Now, that's absolutely fine. That was off the tee, so you'd expect it when off the tee to go that little bit further. To be honest, I mean, the whole point really for me for a 3-wood isn't necessarily the fact that it doesn't go far, but it's more the fact that you're more consistent with it than a driver. My shortest distance though was 148 flat carry, only 200 yards, 929 ball speed. That wasn't a good strike, and that was still off the tee as well actually, so that was just really down to me and my swing. Happy with those general total distances, that's what I want. Ball flight did come out low, but then again that is down to my swing. My angle of swing is very much sort of a draw, which obviously decreases the loft, which to be honest with summer coming up isn't a bad thing. As long as I don't have to get over anything, I can really hit this ball with speed, get that ball speed up around that 137 miles per hour, and just let this thing roll down the fairway. So overall, when I'm talking about the distances, I'm generally very happy.
So there you go, some pretty good figures there. And one thing I will say as well is the ball speed. That's one of the reviews, one of the main things actually, sorry, that I've read about the reviews of this club is the ball speed. It was very quick ball speed, very good ball speed. And the launch, like I've said before, I tend to really close the club face and really deal off the club. So my launch is very low normally, to be honest. So the launch I was getting, I was pretty happy with that. So can't complain there. And one of the reviews as well, it's quite a low launching club, and that's what it tends to be. That's what they wanted. So fair enough. It's doing exactly what it said on the tin at the moment. So happy days there. But yeah, going into it, 227 average total distance, that's including off the tee and off the deck. So off the tee, it was more around that sort of 235, 240 mark. Absolutely really happy with that. And then also, I was still getting over 230 total distance off the deck, to be honest. Obviously some badder hits, but really happy with the performance and distance for me, exactly what I want. Yes, might hit my driver between 250, 260 normally, maybe a little bit more than 260. So it's quite a nice gapping as well. For me, a fairway wood, if I'm going to be using it off the tee, is very much more for control. For example, Hersham, which I play quite a bit, even though it's quite a short course and it's quite narrow, so there's 4 holes, really, you don't really want to be taking the driver out because something can go wrong or it might go too long. So I always use my fairway wood, and out of the 4 holes, 3 of them were on the fairway. One was all down to me and my positioning and my swing, put a horrendous swing on it, slice it into a tree, and it bounced into lake. Nothing to do with the club. That was all on me. The others, though, one of the hits, for example, on a par 4, which is actually a really short par 4, is there's a lake, there's a trench with water in it, and you've got to go over the trench, which is about 210, 200. And then you've literally got like a chip in on the green, which is about 20 yards. Now, I actually hit this right on the toe there, and I could feel it. I knew exactly where I hit it, and I knew exactly that I hit that there because I could feel the club twisting, and I got over the trench. So, leading on to the forgiveness aspect of this club, the forgiveness is good. To be fair, I'm generally happy. I mean, I know the lowest one for me was 200, and the ball speed dropped to 129 miles per hour, which is quite a drop down, but that's still 129. That's still not from the average of 137. That's not a huge drop down, especially the fact that I'm not, that wasn't a great hit on the driving range for that ball. And like I said, I hit that and then got it out that distance. I don't think it's the most forgiving club. No, 100% not. But I think there is a good level of forgiveness in this, which is great because it's exactly what I wanted. I don't necessarily need the most forgiving club, but for me anyway, I needed a good level of forgiveness, and that's what I got from this. So I was happy with the forgiveness, and so far happy about the distance. Feel, not necessarily nothing bad about the feel, but nothing really screaming out positive about the feel. You can't really tell if it's right in the middle or a little bit off the face, a little bit left, right, unless it's really off center hit like I did. I really couldn't feel the difference there. So not the greatest to feel, but in the end of the day, does that really matter? No. As long as the ball's getting to where you want it to go, great. Workability, put it in a better person's hands. I think you can work it. I mean, I'm definitely, got my draw on it perfectly fine. So I definitely think there is a level of workability in there. Again, I wouldn't say it's the best. I wouldn't say it's like your TSI 3 or TSR 3s, for example, a Titleist, or your Sim Titaniums back in the day, which just came out the same period of this. So yes, workability is great, but not, I wouldn't say it's fantastic. And then if we further go into sort of thing, the looks wise, as mentioned before, I really like it. I'm not a massive fan of these 2 sections here, to be honest, on the bottom there, but can't really complain. So this leads us into the ACS Golf scale. So here we go. Sorry, before we get into the ACS Golf scale, last thing to talk about is the price. So price of this I picked up for £80, which is $95 if you're in the USA market. Now, this actually won gold award in Golf Digest, which is fantastic. It's the highest you can get, which is great, which obviously put it in line for 2020, the same as the TaylorMade Sim, the Titleist TS, the TS range. The TSI actually came out a year after. And also the Mizuno ST200, for example, did great there, and obviously the Pings would as well. Now, if you're looking at, say, the Titleist TS2 on the second-hand market over here in the UK, on eBay, for example, price is around £100 around the same condition, because this is very good condition, to be fair, to it. No sky marks, pretty much perfect. So price is relatively, it's a bit higher if you wanted a TSR. TaylorMade Sim's actually around the £80 mark, so a little bit less. And the Mizuno is around £65, which is around $80. So it's very much in the ball figure in the second-hand market. Now, I would say in the UK, a lot of people don't know Tour Edge. They are in American golf now, but they're not a big pull, even though they've been doing some great clubs. I mean, Rick Shields had reviewed some of these clubs recently, over the past 2 years, and said they're absolutely great, but people don't think of them. So in the UK, even though I paid £80 for this, I think I was the only one who bid on it. So if the person put in the bid lower, starting price off lower, then I think you could have got even more of a deal. So, do keep an eye out for Tour Edge when it comes down to fairway drivers. They are very reasonably priced, and they are good. They're worth a go. And if you don't like them, you can sell them, and then you might lose a few quid or be absolutely fine. Over in the US, obviously, they're more renowned, and so you might not be able to pick up a good ads deal, but still very good. So price wise, they are what they are. I think compared to everything else, very similar. One thing I will point out, which is a bit annoying, is there's no adjustability. For me, like I said, with the way I hit the ball, I don't get it in the air. So I would have liked some adjustability. So on days where it is cold, it's a bit wet, or I need to carry it more, I can crank it up to say 16.5 and go forward, which I think is really more suited to my game. But with this, with the 15 degrees when it's summer, which we're coming up to in the UK and obviously Northern Hemisphere, and it comes out as low bullet and rolls, and there's no trouble in the way, then it's absolutely fine. But I would have liked some adjustability there, to be honest, but fortunately there isn't any. So that is one point to think about. If you want to be changing the loft or changing the lie or angle of attack, depending if you want this closed or open. I mean, very much for me, it's neutral. It's not closed or it's not open. But if you wanted to do that with a sleeve like Tyler's do very well, or Ping as well, to be honest, then maybe you should look and go down that route rather than look out for this. So there you go. Now we can get on to the ACS golf scale. So distance. So if you remember, I brought this in last week. We have a result. So 1 to 5 out of distance, feel, looks, price, forgiveness. So here we go. So distance, I would say to 4. I was really happy with distance, to get up to 250 yards. I don't think it's the longest, but I definitely think it's up there with the big boys for this year when it came down to distance. The fact that ball speed as well, one, I think, what was it? One, let me just have a look. 143 ball speed. Very happy with that. So I think distance is good. So 4. Feel 2.5. Like I said, unless it's a massive hit, the feel isn't great. Not too much response from the club, so very much down the middle. It's not bad, but it's not good. So average 2.5. Looks 3.5. So I do love the look of it. I love the top. I even like the sparkles in it, which there is some. And I do like that alignment aid. Very simple. And, again, I like the blue and I like everything. The reason it's 3.5 and not a 4, though, is these dual carbon bottoms there at the bottom. They just sort of seem like they've been thrown in there a bit, rather than, I know why they're there. Obviously, they're to help the club. They're good things to have, but it just makes it look a little bit cheap, I think, randomly. I know it was a cheaper club, but still, yeah. So 3.5 without that. If they did that a little bit better, I think it would definitely win a 4. Price, as I said, I think, if you can get a really good deal on it and somebody starts over here in the UK anyway, starts it low, I think you can get a good deal. So I've given it a 3, so a little bit above average, but let's be honest, it's very much in the price point for other clubs around that period of 2020. And forgiveness, I think the forgiveness is very good in it, but there's definitely more forgiving models out there. So I'm giving it 3.5. Maybe a 4, but I think I'll stick with a 3.5. So it's got a really good level of forgiveness, but it's not the most forgiving thing out there. But generally, I'm happy with it. So there you go, the review for the Tour Edge Exotic X220. I think it's a lovely club overall, really good all-rounder, to be honest. Very solid performer with some really good results when it comes down to distance. So keep a lookout for this. If you're looking for a 3-wood, 2020, don't want to go out and spend, I think, like £250, $300 for a new one nowadays. Go and have a look for this. Great head, really good shaft options in there as well. You can pick up on the second-hand market. Yeah, and also I personally think they're a bit of a talking point. A lot of people don't have Tour Edge. And I'm playing this weekend, and I know a lot of people looking at it and go, "What's that club?" So do keep an eye out for that. And remember, if you enjoyed this video, do give it a like. Remember to subscribe I always say it, we've got like over 1,000 hours views, 1,000 hours of viewing time on the channel, and only from like 3% of subscribers. So do remember to subscribe, and also comment down below if you play any Tour Edge clubs, because to be honest, I've done a few reviews now of a lot of them. To be honest, the Ironwood, which you can find, one of the drivers, obviously that limited edition one I showed you earlier, and I think they're great clubs. Okay, goodbye, and catch you next week. Bye.